Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Demon Land podcast. It was bye week this week, and there's not much going on, but we're looking forward to a great week ahead. My name is Andy, and joining me every week as he does, Grapeviney. Good evening.
Good evening, Andy, and good evening, Demon Land. Huge week. The big blockbuster against the Pies, got the big freeze again on at the G, and of course we've got a great former Demon on as guest tonight. So big show coming up, lots to talk about.
Yeah, lots to talk about going into the big Queen's Birthday game, and we will be speaking to a very special guest tonight, a Demon great. One of my favourite players, I must say. And, you look back, and of course, we're speaking of none other than Jeff White. And when you look back, particularly in my lifetime as a Demon supporter, you have a look at all the ruckman we've had, so going back to sort of the mid-'80s, when we sort of came back onto the scene and was playing finals football, we've had quite a number of great ruckman, we had Peter Moore, Brownlow medalist, O'Dwyer, Jimmy Steins, of course, Brownlow medalist.
Another Brownlow medalist, yep.
Jeff White, he was an All-Australian. Darren Jolly, who left us, but did Darren Jolly ever make All-Australian? Not at the D's, but at the Swans?
Not sure.
Not sure, but he played in a premiership.
Yep.
We had Paul Johnson, he could ruck. Mark Jamer, All-Australian as well. And of course, now Max Gawn, All-Australian as well. So, in the last 30 plus years, we've had a pretty good ruck stock to fall back on.
Yeah, they're all really good players. As you say, sort of Brownlows and All-Australians. It's hard to rank them, isn't it? I mean, Jimmy changed the game, I suppose, so he would probably head the list, but there's a fair bit of talent there.
There is a fair bit of talent,
Straubs was a really good ruckman on his day.
Yeah.
He and Jimmy didn't play well together. That was sort of pre the two rucks, wasn't it? And
yeah.
They both needed to be number one ruck. Both were two good ruckmen at the same time when Straubs and Jimmy were around.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. But pretty much you look at the list of ruckmen, we've pretty much always gone with sort of the lone ruckman. Jeff White was a lone ruckman pretty much.
Yep.
Jamer as well, Maxie now.
Yes. Yeah. And Spence has really only been able to get a little look in that time, hasn't he? He's been on the list for quite a while and only played the 30-odd games. So looks like he'll be back this week, though. So we need a ruck, that's for sure.
We certainly do need a ruck. And when you look at that list and you see the embarrassment of riches that we've had, and then look at this year.
Stocks are pretty thin at the moment.
Yeah, and apparently even in the twos we're sort of struggling to field a couple of ruckmen. I think they had to bring in almost a ring-in to play at Casey this week in the ruck.
Is the flipper out injured?
Yeah,
is he
he's
at the moment?
He's injured. I
think Declan Keelty's been doing a little bit of rucking. So stocks are very thin at the moment. So good to have Spence back. And as we were discussing pre-show, pictures today of Max doing ruck work for the first time. So his rehabilitation's going well, and he'll be back sooner rather than later too, which will be a huge boost.
That was a great sight to see, and hopefully he's back, and we'll discuss it a bit later on when we sort of discuss ins and outs and injuries and all that. But hopefully we can see him back on the park. Do you think? I'll just jump ahead. Do you think he'll come straight into the team when he's ready? Surely they're not going to play him through the twos.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. No doubt.
Big game this week. Before we're not going to discuss the game just yet. We'll bring on Jeff White soon. But it's a big event. Queen's birthday plus the thing for Neil Danaher, the big freeze from raising awareness for motor neuron disease. It's a big day for us and a big day for Danners.
It is. I saw him last night on AFL 360, and they've raised $15 million for research into MND and finding a cure for it. They've funded a number of out of that, they've been able to fund a number of clinical trials and handed out numerous research grants, I think 8 research grants and 2 or 3 clinical trials. So that money is being turned into real work to find a cure for this thing. So, Neil's efforts on that front are amazing, purely on their own. But when you consider the nature of the disease, he's deteriorating effectively before our eyes, and he speaks so openly about it and with such positivity. It's just hard not to be moved by him when you watch him talk about it. He's just got this incredible attitude to it, and he's obviously made the decision that he's going to dedicate the rest of his life to, fighting it, not just personally, but on behalf of all other sufferers. And, wow, it's pretty inspirational and emotional.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's such a... I mean, when you think about what the disease is, it's like you're trapped in your own body, and
you don't have control over it anymore.
No, and that's so it's an important cause to get behind, and I don't know what they're going to be doing at the ground in terms of raising money, but I'm sure they'll have the tins out, and you might be able to buy
they've got
beanies.
The slide again.
Yeah. But like in terms of what we can do to buy, to donate money, and I'm sure they'll be selling beanies or something at the ground.
Well, they just announced that the beanies had almost run out. There are about 100 left as of an hour ago, so okay. I imagine they're all gone now.
Wow.
They only make a limited number of the beanies, but yeah, there'll be tin rattlers and the like there. So I think the walk is on again. It hasn't really been publicised, but someone did mention the walk, so that's always a good sort of visual. Always a good visual too, the thousands of people walking from Fed Square to the G pre-match. So huge day, big day for Danners, where they make the most money that they would all year because it's such a focus.
Yeah. And
what a legend. He was a legend. He was a legend just for what he did as a coach, but what he's doing now is just remarkable.
It certainly is. All right, we're going to just take a quick break here, play a little bit of music that you'll hear in the background. We're just going to connect with Jeff White, and we'll be back with you in a moment. So enjoy a little bit of music. All right, we're off stream, and I'll give Jeff a call.
Good evening.
Good evening, Jeff. How are you going?
Good. Is this Andy?
This is Andy. It is Andy.
And Jason. How are you going, Jeff?
G'day, Jason. How are you?
Yeah, excellent, mate. Thanks for coming on.
That's all right. You can hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. Sound great. So we're just going to jump back on the stream now.
Okay.
Jason will introduce you, and we'll go from there.
No worries.
All right, so we'll be back in a sec. All right, we're back.
Well, we're lucky enough to have the company tonight of one of the most popular players to have pulled on the red and blue jumper in the modern era. He played more than 230 games for the club between 1998 and 2008, kicking 95 goals, including at least one match winner against the Bulldogs, which was part of a fantastic compilation of the MFC's greatest ever goals, which was posted to YouTube this week. He was a member of the 2000 Grand Final side, a year in which he finished runner-up in the best and fairest. He was also an All-Australian in 2004 and made a life member of the club in 2007. Welcome to the Demonland podcast, Jeff White.
Evening, how are you?
Yeah,
excellent.
Yeah, we're great. So, Jeff, perhaps we can start on a topic that's in the news at the moment, and that's Neil Danaher's continuing battle with motor neurons disease. It's a big freeze at the G this week, where Dana's fundraising efforts are front and square, and we've all admired his courage and drive and bravery in setting up this campaign and relentlessly promoting it. And you played under him and know him. Can you tell us a bit about your relationship with him, both as a coach and in the personal sense?
Well, it's obviously it's very. It's mixed emotions, I guess, from anyone that sort of knows Neil on a personal level, and in what he's doing for motor neuron disease is the way he was as a coach, as a leader, as a friend. He was so inspirational in his time when he was a coach, and the way he's driving the fundraising at the moment is a mirror image of what he used to do for the Melbourne Footy Club in relation to driving membership, getting the fans excited, getting behind the players, all that sort of stuff. And so what you see with Neil is the way he was as a coach, and that's him. I've caught up with him quite a bit just recently, actually, in Byron Bay, and he's still Neil. He's still, even though he's going through such a debilitating disease, and he shies away from that. He just says, right, this is what I got to do. So optimistic, so positive about his drive for finding a cure, and it's just a huge credit, and he's an inspiration to everyone. And I'm just so thankful that he was a coach, but also a friend, and it's even so heartwarming to see so many people getting behind it from every club, from every sport, from every business that you see. It really is quite inspirational what he's been able to achieve.
Yeah, well said. I mean, as supporters, we're guilty more than anyone of seeing football as a life and death thing, and expecting players to sort of treat it with the same seriousness. But Neil's situation puts all that in perspective, doesn't it? I mean, this is a real life and death struggle, and his positivity is just. It's hard to believe, almost.
Well, it is. It's truly inspirational. But I know his wife quite well. I know his kids really well, and they said, "It's Dad. He hasn't. He's my husband. He hasn't changed." In the midst of what he's going through, the message is that he hasn't changed. He's still my dad. He's still Neil. He's still rowdy. He's still that personality that he's always been. And he's always one, like when we're playing under him, one of the things he used to, I guess from a personal side of things, the one thing he said to me when they brought the rucking new circle out and stuff like that, he said, you just have to adapt. Just adapt. You can't do it. You can't do anything about it. Just adapt. And that's what he's doing right now. He's like, I want to find a cure. So let's do it. Let's, it might not happen before my time, but hey, let's get on the front foot. Let's try and raise some money. Let's get people involved. Let's raise awareness for this debilitating disease, and let's do something about it. And he's proactive about it. And that's Neil. That's who he's always been. I mean, he was my assistant coach at Fremantle for 3 years, and then he was my head coach at Melbourne for 10 years. So I know Neil very, very well. and just to see what he's doing right now, aside from what he's going through personally, to see what he's able to achieve is phenomenal. It's unbelievable, and that is Neil, and he's absolute inspiration to everyone.
It certainly is, and that's why it's so important that we all dig deep and help support Neil. And so Jeff, you played under Neil in the 2000 Grand Final, and the consensus is that you were one of the best players on the ground, at least as far as us Demons are concerned. What were what were the team's expectations going into that game? Considering Essendon's record, and how hard was it to cope with the loss?
We're very confident. I mean, we had a great run.
Yeah, we
had an unbelievable run into the finals, and then we had a really good game against Carlton, and then we steamrolled North Melbourne, who beat us in the prelim in 1998. So we steamrolled them. So we were flying. We were full of confidence, and we thought we were a big shot. And the lead up to the week there was more pressure on them. And then James heard there was something, a bit of a family issue happened. I think one of his kids got sick. So we felt that the momentum was, we had a lot of momentum. They did too, but we felt we had momentum. We felt that more pressure was on them. And then when James is unfortunately, but we thought there was things sort of maybe going our way, but look, at the end of the day, they were just too good. I think they got us a bit in the second quarter. We just we struggled to get through. We just tried to get out of our back half, and we just they just put the foot on the throat, and they're too good in the end. And look, it was obviously very disappointing. We were a proud bunch of kids. We had a really like Brad Green, Brucey missed the grand final, which is unfortunate. But while he was still young, I was still young. Booze was still young. Jeff Farman was still young. I mean, the list goes on, really. And we're disappointed, but you never take it for granted. We sort of thought, you start the pre-season in 2001 and go, well, we've got the team, we'll go again, And I look back now, and that was the only grand final I played in. So you just never take anything for granted. That's one thing that I took away from my career in the AFL, is that never take anything for granted. I left no stones unturned. I put everything out there as much as I could. But when it comes to that elusive grand final, I know the Demon supporters, me myself now a fan and a supporter, geez, I'd just love to see that, one of those red and blue jumpers holding that cup up one day, and so our motivation was that so many teams had tried before. It was our last premiership, 64.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of teams had tried and never made it. So, that was a lot of motivation for us as well. Hey, we can write the record books here. We haven't won a premiership for so long. So many teams have tried. So many players have tried. But unfortunately it didn't go our way. But, what a week. It was an amazing week. Unbelievable. And, something you never forget.
Did you think at the time, sort of your post-grand final, that you would win a flag, that it was just a matter of time with that list?
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. Well, you think about, look, I just named those players just then. A
lot of talent.
A lot of talent, yeah. I was 23. Wowie was 23. Ooze was 23. Jeff Farman was 23. You go on. Brad Green was 18 or 19. Cameron Bruce was 18 or 19. And you think of those players. I mean, they're 250 game players, life members of the footy club. So you look back then and go, well, it was a healthy list, But it's the way it goes. It's footy's a tough game. It's brutal. It's you've got to be at your, if you're 5% off, then side's going to knock you off the perch, and injuries come with that as well. We suffered some injuries in the coming years, and so on and so forth. But it just shows you how tough it is to win. And I definitely take my hat off to teams like, particularly that last decade. Collingwood, Geelong, Hawthorn. Sydney have won a couple. I just take my hat off to those teams and just go, wow. You just think of all the players that have have played the game and never won a flag, and these guys have won 3 and 4. It's just phenomenal.
So you mentioned the talent that we have and we had then, and the Danaher years were very topsy-turvy, 1 year up, 1 year down. Did the team underachieve, or was it just bad luck, injuries and the like?
I thought we achieved a lot. We obviously wanted to win a flag, but we achieved finals. We consistently got there. I think 04, 05, 06 we made the finals.
Yeah.
Off the back of 98, 2000 and 2002. But I still look back and people say, what was the year? And I personally think that 98 was our best year. It was back in the old system, back of the old top 8 system. But, you look at, we played Adelaide the first game. I think we beat them by 42 points.
Yeah.
We played St Kilda, who played off in the flag the year before. We beat them by 53 points. I thought we were flying. I thought we just had, I reckon we had the side in 98 to win it. And we come up against North Melbourne. They beat us by, I think it was 12. I can't remember, something like that. Wasn't that much in the prelim, but
yep.
It was 2 goals.
And Adelaide eventually went on and won the flag.
Yeah.
So, I thought 98 was our best chance, definitely. In 2004, we were halfway. I think with about 4 or 5 rounds to go, we're on top of the ladder, and we fell away,
and we lost the last 5. Yeah.
Yeah. So. And 2005 was, we lost a final against Essendon, and then 2006, good final, and then we got beaten by Freo and made the travel. So, look, like I said, you never take anything for granted and stuff like that. You live in the moment, and just so grateful to play for such a wonderful club and play finals. It was that's what you play footy for.
You mentioned playing alongside the Wizard. You also played alongside David Neitz, David Schwartz, some very talented players at the club. Who is the best of those? Who was the best teammate?
Put you on the spot.
You have put me on the spot. Oh, look, I sort of, I talk about it now with my son. It's quite funny. He's 10 years of age, Kalani, and he's loves his footy. And when he first got the footy card of Jack Viney, he called him Jack Finney, and it's sort of stuck now. And I've known Jack since he was 7 years of age. Because I played with Todd, and Kalani's sort of like, what? You played with Jack's dad? Like it's a bit of an eye opener for him. But I look at players that I spent a lot of time with, obviously, and I live with Nita. Still good mates to this day. So, I lived with Nita. When I first came to the club, he just grabbed me, big bear hug, grabbed me under his wing and said, mate, live with me, and just really welcomed me in the club. So, always thankful for Nita his time. But, I just go through the midfielders. I play with Ooze, Wowie, Stephen Powell, Todd Viney, just Guy Rigoni, guys who come.
Oh, have we lost you, Jeff?
I've lost. Hello?
Might have just... I can see I'm still connected, but I think we've just lost connection for a sec. We'll wait to see whether Jeff comes back. But so far, very interesting interview.
Yeah. He played... they were a good team. He's right, the 98, and 2000. So
I'm just bringing him back on. The call failed, so we'll see if we can get him back. But yeah, there was a number of very good footballers in that team that he played with. So it'll be interesting to hear what he has to say. Still connecting. We'll cut this out of the of the final product. But yeah, I mean, while we're just waiting. Oh, now it's ringing. Jeff, we got you back.
The old Skype malfunction.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
That's all right. We'll cut that out of the final product.
Yeah. So we're good to go?
Yeah, we're good to go.
Yeah,
we're good to go.
You were going through the midfield and just how talented it was.
Yeah, so when you spend a lot of time with those midfield players, you work on tactics, and it's not only in the centre bounce, but it's also around the ground. And you have, like, when I would go to stop play, boundary throwing, I'd tap the side of my leg, and that's where I was going to hit. So you develop that sort of camaraderie and that sort of chemistry amongst your teammates. So that's where it was great to play with, like, Gary Lyon, Jim Steins, Brett Lovett, Glenn Lovett. The list goes on. The list goes on of all those greats of the game. Stephen Tingay, and Anthony Ingerson, and the McDonald brothers and all that sort of stuff. But then I just narrow it down to my midfield sort of core guys that I play with. James McDonald was great in the middle as well.
Yeah.
And so that's where I really developed a strong chemistry. And, you sort of got the stage where during the week you'd think about, okay, who are we playing against? And, where's the hitting zone? What's that ruckman do? Where does he hit? This is where I reckon we should hit. Can you come around this way? Your starting points are here. So it became really a real good dynamics that was what I really loved doing. And that's what I always loved it as a kid, and I loved it when I was playing AFL.
Do you still keep in contact with anyone? You mentioned Nita you're still good mates with. Anyone you've had lasting friendships that you still even speak to on?
Oh yeah, totally. I just spoke to Cameron Bruce tonight. So I spoke to Ooze last week. Speak to Jeff Farmer quite a bit. Still speak to Guy Rigoni. Still, there's a lot of players. It's lifetime memories and lifetime friends. So I'm a bit sort of isolated here on the Gold Coast. I think I'm the only past player that lives on the Gold Coast. From my era. But when I go to Melbourne, always catch up with them. But the beauty, I guess, is the social media aspect, is that I'm able to keep in touch with those guys. And I'm heavily involved, as you know, with social media. And it just gives me a great avenue to know what they're up to and to keep in contact. And the best part about living on the Gold Coast is, come the end of the footy season, where do they all go on holiday? The Gold Coast. So, Brock McLean, Jared Rivers, think of players that, James Frawley, think of players that have been at the club and now at other clubs I still keep in touch with. So, it's a long list of players that I keep in touch with, which is great, which is, my wife still keeps in touch with a lot of them as well. So it's great.
You're renowned for your incredible leap, which was so good that the AFL, as you mentioned before, actually changed the rules midway through your career and totally changed the ruck contest. Just take us through what you thought of it at the time. You mentioned what Dan has said, that you just had to adjust. But how did you feel about it? Because it wasn't to your advantage, was it?
No, it was a little bit of a... it was quite disappointing, because I'd always loved that DK Lilly run up, come off the boundary line, send up back and then just jump as high as I could. And because I had that leap, it was such a massive weapon as an advantage. And it was something I love, I craved. When I was a kid, I know that was always, that ruckman at the end, standing face to face, wanted to try and, throw their weight around, but I knew I had the advantage of jumping. So I just felt that was my aggression point, I guess. And it was taken away. It was sort of felt that I loved that so much, it taken away, but I sort of had to adapt. I had to try and change my angles and, but, oh, well, it's the way it goes, and I just try to do the best I could and try to utilise what I had, but then I also just make sure that, I still connect with my possession around the ground and be as damaging as I could. So I guess my tactic was to try and run the ruckman off their feet, so when they were in the centre, they were tired and they couldn't jump. So sort of bring them down to my level a little bit. And I was always going against taller opponents, always. Jumping against Sandilands, you need to be on your game all the time. You jump against someone like Dean Cox, who could jump and he's tall, and he could also run. So, it was certainly an interesting time. I know that they wanted to get rid of the PCL injuries, which I myself had a PCL injury as well. So I think it worked. I think it was effective, and I think to this day, it's the AFL can definitely go back in stats and say, hey, We've got limited PCL injuries, which is, I guess, from a ruckman's point of view, is a positive for the game.
Yeah, so the AFL have tinkered with the ruck rules again this year, and they've, banning the third man up. Is that a change that you support? Is it good for the game?
Look, it becomes it becomes an arm wrestle, becomes a battle of the two ruckmen, and look, third ups used to be. I think the beauty with third ups and how teams used to really benefit was particularly forward to centre. So you got the ball at centre forward, you run a play and you just hit it forward, and you got players running forward. So it gives you the momentum run forward. But the tactics I used to use is I would stand in front of my ruckman and say right third up, so I wouldn't cop a knee in the back. So that's where it was a lot of tactics. You used to that was one of the things you had to do. Just try and I guess protect yourself, because it is as soon as that ball goes in the air and your eyes are for that ball, you're trying to reach for that ball at its highest peak. It is daunting aspect to feel that you've got to have really good lateral vision. You've got to be able to sense if there's players jumping and where they're coming from as a third up component. So I guess that's one of the skills that ruckmen don't have to practice anymore. I used to try and practice that all the time, because I knew that because I had a bit of a leap, I was possibly going to be the first one to try and jump on. There was always going to be someone trying to get over top of me. So so you had to be aware of that, but they don't have to do that anymore. So, look, it becomes a bit of an arm wrestle between the ruckmen now. So, you have to position your body well and do the best you can.
The umpires are lobbying and others are lobbying to get rid of the centre bounce and just have the ball thrown up. What do you reckon about that?
I think leave it. I think you don't want to take too many. The beauty of that game is so much history. It's so much history, 125 years of history or whatever it is. So you don't want to try and eliminate those sorts of stuff. And the AFL's aware of that. I think what they do now when they bring it back and they throw it up, great. I think they just need to leave it as it is. The thing with the bounce is that I know when the ball would bounce slightly over my opponent's head, that was an advantage for me, because I would get more of a run up than what my opponent would. Yeah. So when you actually then go to the throw, you're on an even playing field, which is okay, but
it takes away the uncertainty and the unpredictability of it.
Yeah, the unpredictability of having having the bounce at the centre bounce, it just creates a different aspect to the game, and it's something that's been there forever. So I think my opinion is to leave it. Throw it around the ground, that's fine, and make sure the umpires make sure the ruckman is set, then throw it up. Great, that's no issues there, because you obviously around the ground is going to be a little bit uneven, and normally in the centre it's quite flat. But you just got to leave history, in my opinion, and leave the centre bounce. And if it's a bad bounce, we saw a shocker on the weekend when I was commentating the Suns and who have they played? Just had a mental break, but they just threw it up, done, all that. So so I think my mind, just leave it. Eagles, that's the one.
Eagles,
yeah. I was trying to think about that one, but I think just leave it. It's part of the history of the game.
Amen.
Yeah. So, who was the best ruckman you played against, and also you can answer who's the best ruckman in the game at the moment.
Best ruckman I played against, probably Dean Cox. Dean Cox. Steve, Matthew Allen for a little bit. Carlton and Essendon. Those mobile ruckmen, those guys that were tall and they could jump and they were smart around the ground. Luke Darcy was a good ruckman. We had some really good battles against Luke Darcy, but I think Dean Cox, he was a superior runner, very, very hard to run against, and and he was tall. I mean, 6'6", 6'7", he could jump. It's hard to combat that. So he was certainly a tough task. Had some really good battles. Best ruckman today? It's a good question. There's a lot of. I really like Paddy Ryder. He doesn't get a lot of possessions around the ground. He kicks goals, but his ruck work at the moment is just And
he's in good nick at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, but I saw him early in the year when they played Brisbane up at the Gabba, and just he was going against Steph Martin, who's an ex-Demon, but I think Steph Martin's a really good ruckman as well, and he just had it on the string in relation to his palm work. He flicks it behind his head, he flicks it forward, he flicks it to the side, flicks it to left and right, and he's doing that. And he's been a great asset to the Port Adelaide Footy Club this year. So I really like the way he's going at the moment. If you're thinking all Australian sort of stuff, he would have to obviously be up there. So and look, you missed the big fella, big Maxi Gawn. He had a great year last year, and looking forward to hopefully getting back for the Demons and that as they charge to the finals, they're just I think they're in such a good place at the moment, Melbourne. I think they've got that, they've got a really good injury list at the moment, which is really critical this time of year. I know they're going to get probably Spencer back, but they're definitely going to get Max Gawn back. So they're in a really good opportunity in the middle of the year. They're one spot out of the 8, and they're just in a really good space to then be able to, just have a really good second half of the year and have a crack at those finals, which we haven't been in since 2006.
We'll discuss. Actually, we'll ask you a question about Monday's game in a moment. But when you finished up your career in 2008, the consensus was that you were still capable of playing some pretty good footy. And there was, I think, speculation that you might play elsewhere. Ultimately, you decided not to nominate for the draft or to play on. You called time. How hard was it to make that decision?
I took some time just to have a think about it, and I always said, I guess it's a Michael Jordan sort of being my idols. Michael, the moment you sort of stop enjoying the game is when you walk away, and that's exactly what happened. I just stopped. I used to love doing the extra weights, the extra runs. I love all that sort of stuff. I had my own personal trainer outside of footy, and just really lived and breathed footy. And in the sense of getting my body right, making sure that I was fit, mentally and physically prepared, and I just felt that second half of the 2008, I felt that sort of slipping away, and that's what was a bit of an indicator for me to step away from the game, and I actually played 2009. I played with my brother. Played a year up here in Queensland, and I just really enjoyed the footy. I think it was good. It was a good way to finish because 2008 was a pretty down year, and so was 2007. So I had come off the back of 2 years that were pretty low in relation to where we finished on the ladder and all that sort of stuff. And so it was great to finish in that way. But look, I knew, and it was quite ironic. Just during that last year, I had dreams of being in front of a computer, staying up late, and I don't know, it was just sort of, you go with the instincts, I guess, and didn't know what I was going to do post footy, but I just always had those dreams of being in front of a computer and all that sort of stuff, and it's quite funny, I'm doing that today, so, you just got to go with the instincts, and that's what I did.
So you mentioned you were playing in the Gold Coast. Was that your decision to move to the Gold Coast to play footy?
Yeah, look, I wanted to. I was sort of. I definitely wanted to relocate. We bought a house in 2007. My wife's originally from here, but I fell in love with the place in 2001 when I came up for a holiday and just got some great friends here now. Love my golf, as you know, and all year round the weather's great. It just felt really good for my body, and so when I retired, that was bang. We moved up straight away, and I sort of. I didn't really want to play, but then my brother said, "Look, we've never played together all through juniors. You left when I was quite young and pursued AFL, so we nearly had a chance." So I said, "All right, no worries." And his club was struggling at the time. They had only in 5 years, I think they only won 7 games or something. So we finished third on the ladder that year. We recruited, got some really good kids in. I think obviously with my signing, sort of got some other kids in across the country, and we had a really good year. It was great fun. raised a lot of money for the club, and it was just good to get back to playing, enjoying my footy. And unfortunately, my brother got injured the whole year, so we ended up only playing the last home and away game together. So he was along for the whole journey, but, he got to play the last game, which was great. And finally just got to wear the same jumper together and play in the same team, so it was good fun. It was just good to finish, footy. I played since I was 8 years of age, just to finish on a good note, because 2008 was quite, even though it was, my last year, it was quite disappointing the way it sort of was, and I didn't thoroughly enjoy it, so it was good to finish it that way.
So you coached a little bit at Gold Coast part-time. Did you enjoy coaching, and is it something you're still interested in doing?
Not interested in doing, no. I love giving advice.
Yeah.
I love particularly coaching, like the ruck sort of stuff. But yeah, it was okay. Like when I moved up, Guy McKenna said, "Look, we've got all these ruckmen. We want you to, can you come and help me?" And I said, "Yeah, no worries. It's only a part-time role." So did the under-18s, did the reserves, and then did 2 years of the AFL. But just the demand became a bit too intensive, and because I was only part-time, I couldn't offer more time to them because of my commitments outside of that role. And so at the end, I just said, look, it's not something that I want to do. And playing footy, as much as I love playing, I never watched games. I never watched the footy show. I never watched other games. I just focused in sort of my area. And I don't know, I just always had the aspirations to helping people, to solving problems, to all that sort of stuff. I never really had aspirations to being a coach. And I've always said, if you want to be an AFL coach or an assistant coach, the best place to be is in Melbourne. And I wanted to live on the Gold Coast. So it was never an aspiration of mine, but I still love giving advice. I love I'm still good friends with Zach Smith at Geelong. I speak to Zachy quite a bit. Love giving him tips, advice. I watch some of his games. Tommy Hickey, who was involved with the Suns now, is at St Kilda. I love giving him tips as well, and I just love just helping out. I mean, the game, the rucking, and the actual the science of it, I guess, if you want to use that word, it hasn't really changed, and it hasn't changed over so many years. I guess it's become more of a running game, but in the position and trying to hit that ball at its highest point and trying to push it down to your ruck rovers and your rovers and so on and so forth, it hasn't changed. So I just love having that advice and sharing my knowledge with other players.
Good stuff. You mentioned a short time ago dreaming about sitting in front of the computer. Tell us a bit about your new business venture, Post High, which are portable goalposts that are easy to set up and pack down, obviously great for kids. What was the inspiration behind it? How did that come about?
It just come about through my son. So I think a lot of your listeners will be able to relate to this, but we were just on a family holiday a couple of years ago, April 2015, and we're kicking some goals with some trees. And you think about what we used to do when I was young. The kid across the road, he had 2 trees in his house, in his front yard, and we didn't have any trees. So I convinced my mum to go down to the pot plant place, get 4 plants and put them in the front of our nature strip so I could have 4 goalposts. So I always had that entrepreneurial sort of stuff when I was a kid, always had that. And so anyway, so my son said, look, and it started raining, and he said, can we go to the sports store and buy some AFL goalposts? And it sort of dawned on me that there was nothing, you can't buy any goalposts. So then we went to Auskick and they're using the javelin poles, and I thought, well, this is a bit of a safety concern. Yeah. And so one of my twins had one of those lightsabers that retract out that you flick, and I thought 2 and 2. So got some gym, got some rubber mat from my wife's gym, got 4 lightsabers, put some Velcro together, lit up the lights and showed my kids, and they loved it. I said, right, that's what I'm going to do. So it was a long process. Still to this day, it's a long process. I had to find manufacturers in China and an engineer and, put everything together. And we launched...
And persuade Gary Ablett to support you too.
Well, it wasn't a persuasion. Actually, I had a meeting with him this morning. We catch up quite regularly, which is quite fun. And, we're just reminiscing about that time. And I presented to him the idea in August 2015, and he loved it. He said, me and Nathan, we used to use this light pole in a bin. And anyway, 3 months later, he rang me and he said, look, I don't know where you're positioned with Post High. I love the products. Can I be involved in some capacity? And it was just mind-blowing. I mean, he's been a good friend of mine for a while, a really good relationship with regards to MBA and entrepreneurial sort of stuff and business mind, and apart from the footy. And, I just couldn't believe it. I said, you don't have to twist my arm, mate, you're in. So it's just him and I. I've got a graphic designer, I've got a tech advisor who have been unbelievable and inspirational in doing this project as well. They've done it off their own back. And so we successfully launched the AFL product, retractable post, in December last year. And it's been great. It's been well received. It's been really, and since then, and we've always had it in mind, but we've got other sports that have adapted to it. So they basically add on. So soccer, rugby, tennis, badminton, volleyball, and t-ball. And we've got some other great sports coming as well. And along with that, we're just building at the moment a Bluetooth connectivity, so you can change the colours. So
great.
All those Demons fans out there can have red and blue post all changed to their app. So it's an exciting project. It's been well received. I'm really excited about it. Long way to go, but the future looks bright, and we just can't wait to just keep sort of sending them out and seeing kids setting them up in the beach, at the park, front yard, wherever.
Is this available to the public now?
Yep. So we've got limited stock at the moment. We're nearly running out. So just posthigh.com.au. So we've got our AFL set up. It's delivered within 3 or 4 days. Comes out of our Brisbane warehouse. Yep. But we're about to go into productions again, which will include AFL, obviously, but soccer and rugby as well. So we're really excited about adding those two new sports on top of what we've got.
How much does it cost?
So $189 and includes the post, includes the backpack, includes the footy, includes the footy pump, all inclusive, all that sort of stuff. And then our next production run is just going to include the posts. So we're sort of fine tuning things and making sure we to get it right. It's going to have some great features for the next one, and including the Bluetooth connectivity as well. So so it's really exciting. I love it. I love doing it. Work on it every day, and it's a lot of fun.
You're spoiling kids' imagination because, as you mentioned, sort of with Gary and with yourself, every single footy fan has had to create their own goalposts at some point in time and assess their street and line up trees.
Put down a couple of jumpers.
Put down jumpers, bins.
Yeah, there's still, we still love the imagination. I mean, there's some of the photos. I mean, we receive photos every day, which is what I love. I get a big thrill. I mean, I got a photo last week of a guy in China, a kid in China, and it was there's very limited grass, as you would know. In China, there's not a lot of grass area, and it was they set it up near in a street, and I just loved it. It was just great. There's kids just kicking snapshots and check sides and all that sort of stuff, banana kicks, and we get photos, and I love it. I love where kids set up. The beach. Kids set it up in front of in his farm. And it looked like almost the geese were the goal umpires. So it's great, and we still want kids to have the imagination and all that sort of stuff. We're just simplifying it for them, and we've had kids that have put the goalposts really close together, which is quite fun. They've made it really, really wide and made the point posts really, really close together. So they're still using imagination, which is great.
Yeah.
So, but we just love that the kids can just take them anywhere. I mean, over Christmas was phenomenal. Caravan parks and you name it. It was great, and that's what that's what I love. That's why I love doing it.
Is this an AFL endorsed product?
Not as yet.
Are you trying to get that?
But certainly, the AFL are very interested in the product. We've had a lot of discussions with them. So we're constantly in talks. We're constantly in talks with retailers. Retailers have expressed a lot of interest. So it's good. We just keep the negotiations and talkings going. Yeah, but we love what we've developed, and we feel that we can get it better and better. It's going to evolve, and we just keep pushing it out there. And our goal is to reach as many kids, not only Australia but worldwide. We've got really good targets that we want to set, and we're just pushing that as much as we can.
Amazing. So
good luck with it.
Yeah. Wish you all the best with that.
Thanks, guys.
You talked about just quickly. You talked about your son a short time ago. We've got a Billy Stretch, Jack Viney, Joel Smith, all playing at the for the D's at the moment. How far off are we seeing a White junior?
He loves his footy. He actually just won the high jump last week at school, so he's in this. So he can jump. He's a good football player. Definitely say he's better than what I was when I was that age. He's a very, very gifted footballer. He's good at golf. Anything he picks up, he's good at basketball. He's very sport orientated. But he's we haven't pushed him into it. He started playing. He plays at the Surfers Paradise Demons actually. So he wears the red and blue.
Yes, I know the ground.
So it's just around the corner from us. So he loves playing with his mates, and he's pretty good at it, and he's going to be tall. I think he's going to be at least 6'7" the way he's going at the moment. I mean, I'm not short, and my wife's quite tall as well. Yeah. So look, if he pursues it, he will. He loves the sport, so we'll just see what happens.
I saw a photo of a side-by-side comparison of you and him kicking, and he's got the exact same kicking style as you.
My wife took some photos of him on the weekend, and we did another comparison, and it looked quite funny. So when he wears red and blue, it's pretty easy to make the comparison.
So is it on the Gold Coast? Are the opportunities to sort of make it into the AFL? Is it where is it better to be in Victoria for that type of thing down the track?
I think with the introduction now of these the Gold Coast, like the Gold Coast Academy, the GWS Academy and stuff like that. I don't know how that relates in relation to the father-son. So I know Dunkley went through that process a couple of years ago, and instead of going to Sydney, he was in the Sydney Academy, then ended up going to the Bulldogs or something like that. But it's Auskick's massive. It is massive on the Gold Coast. No doubt it's big, and the sign-up is the sign-ups for Victoria, Tassie, South Australia and Perth. Besides that, I can only see it firsthand, and it's massive, and it's so much bigger than NRL, which is the heartland of NRL league, and the participation rate at school and stuff like that is mind blowing. Even B. Durbridge, the pro surfer, his daughter, she plays Auskick. And he's a lovely guy, and he just said that she gets a ball, she gets a backpack, she plays it after school. Robin McEwen, he's at our school as well. I think his kids play Auskick, so it's accommodating. And because of the female participation, I mean, even at Surfers Paradise Demons, I was talking to some of the coaches, and they said that, look, we've had to put more coaches on because we open up the applications for women, and it's just gone through the roof. So AFL is very healthy in southeast Queensland. There's no question about that. And the path and avenues to AFL, you got the Gold Coast Suns Academy, and so it's very healthy.
We talked a moment ago about White Junior playing for the MFC one day. Is there any chance he'll be playing alongside Farmer Junior, who we're also led to believe is showing quite a bit of talent as a junior?
Well, you would like to
what's
see
the
that,
Wiz
wouldn't
got to say about that?
Well, the Wiz is pretty quiet. He's always quick to just continue the banter that we always used to have.
Right.
So look, I haven't seen his son. I don't know where he's at, but I think that's no doubt. Toddy Viney must pinch himself every Saturday afternoon, seeing Jack run out and look, if that ever happens, it'll be a great thrill. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I love watching my son play footy, and if that progresses into the AFL, then I'll keep watching him and keep supporting him. And it'd be great to have that sort of legacy, I guess, and a true thing. I said to him when he started playing footy last year, I said, mate, you should have your own number. You should. What number do you want? And he goes, no, I want 34. And I said, well, why do you want that? He said, well, that's our number. And I didn't know what to say. I said, well, that's awesome. I said, well, how did you come up with that? And he said, well, Steph Curry, him and his dad have the same number, so we're going to have the same number. And I just almost fell like crying. It was just great. So he wears a 34 in Demons, and I think if that ever was to happen, I'd probably cry.
Yeah, we probably would too.
So look, we'll see what happens, but I'm not pushing him. I just love watching him play. He plays footy. He's really good at athletics as well. So that's a good. He just loves any sport.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you very, very much for your time tonight, Jeff. I know we kept you a bit longer than I said, but
that's fine. That's fine. No, always love having a chat, particularly podcasts and stuff like that. But I know a lot of Demon supporters listen to this, and I know when I was playing footy, I loved listening to where former players were. So hopefully, your listeners are able to get a bit of an insight on what I'm doing post footy.
As we mentioned in the intro, somebody actually put a compilation up on YouTube this week of 50 great MFC goals, and your match winner against the Bulldogs is part of that. So you can jump on YouTube and have a look and re-celebrate it again. It was a good kick.
Yeah. No, it was that was certainly a great night. I think someone posted on Twitter a GIF of Neil Danaher running down, which is just unbelievable, fantastic. Yeah. So, look, that was a sensational night. That it was one. Obviously, I'll never forget.
Awesome. Well, once again, thank you so much for your time.
No worries. Well, when
great talking to you, Jeff.
So you guys cut it up and then you upload it, or is that live? Or?
I'll upload. Yeah. I'll upload. I'll send you a link. I'll send you a link on Twitter.
Just tweet me in, and that'll be great. I'll retweet it for you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. And everyone, get it. What was the post high URL again?
posthigh.com.au.
Great. Everyone should get out.
There is a thread about it on Demonland, so punters already do know about it. But if you don't get on
more the merrier. More the merrier.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us once again. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
No worries, and go the D's, go the red and blues, and keep that keep the energy going with these podcasts and get the fans excited, because I think they're a chance to make the finals.
Oh, great! That's good to hear.
Good times are coming. I agree.
That's right.
All right.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
No worries. Take care. See ya.
Cheers. What a great interview that was. He spent a lot of time. I think he would have stayed on all night with us talking. So,
he obviously loves his footy, doesn't he?
Oh, you can tell, just the way he was talking about his preparation for games,
Yep.
Sort of lived and breathed the Demons game. He sort of mentioned how he didn't sort of follow the other clubs with other games and all that, and he just focused on the Ds. And it's really good to hear that. And I remember a story about the season 2000, the year we made the granny, and sort of all the players were really just so focused on winning. I think they all made a pact to give up the booze during the year or something like that, and just focus on the footy. And you can sort of tell by his preparation going into games is it sort of shows that focus. And it definitely paid off.
It's just interesting also to listen to the psychology of the players believe that they could do it, even though, Essendon had a really good year, that they thought that they had a bit of momentum going in. And
well, we did that preliminary final. We had fantastic.
Yep.
I was having a sort of. I think I saw some highlights the other day of. I think there was something on Facebook. The AFL had put out some highlights of Jeff Farmers, and a couple of the highlights were from that game. And we.
Well, he kicked 8, I think, didn't he, that night?
Yeah. Something like that. It was just fantastic. And even as we were watching, you were mentioning a few times that 50 best goals, and I mean, just a lot of that period of those goals, a chunk of them I saw were that period of Jeff White, and we really had a lot of talent during that period.
Oh, it was so much fun to watch. The Danaher years, as frustrating as they were, in the up and downs. When we were up, we were just red hot.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun going to the footy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it certainly was. You think back to that year. I mean, he mentioned 98 being the year that he thought we'd get it, but you have a look at 2004 and remember round 18, I think we were sitting on top of the ladder, and obviously things fell apart after that, but that first 18 rounds was just good. I think we won 10 or 11 in a row, or 10 out of 11 after losing. I think we lost the first 3 and then won the next 11 or 10. They were great times.
Yeah, I mean, that happened a bit in the Northern years too. I think 88, we had a mid-season slump or a late-season slump, and we only fell into the finals in 88.
Yeah,
so.
I think there was quite a number of years. I think it was either at the end of the Northern years and that sort of next period after that, where we used to always have sort of a mid-season slump or towards the end of the year slump, and probably really cost us in those years because it was pretty hard in those days and even now, to win from 5th spot as it was at the time. Although we saw the Bulldogs this last year win from 7th. So, I'd like to 1 year, because we were never really... we never really ended in the top 4, when it became the top 6 and the top 8. We always fell into finals.
We always conjured up a way to miss out on...
That's right. We were doing well, and we'd always fall into finals, and we were in 8th spot or 7th spot or 6th spot, and I'd like us 1 year to really have a great year and not worry about having to limp into finals.
Yeah, it's not often where they've had the week off during the finals. I think it's happened... 1 or 2 times, but most times we've forced ourselves to have to win every week, which, as you said, up until last year has just hasn't been done. So it was interesting also, isn't it, that if you make the granny and you lose, there is an expectation, or there would be an expectation, wouldn't there, among the group that we're going to have another crack at this.
Yeah.
If not this year, then next year. We'll get better and we'll go one better and actually win it next time. But you're not guaranteed to make it. And that's where you really need a solid list and luck on your side as well, and players that continue to develop rather than plateau, I suppose.
Yeah. Well,
but
it just didn't happen for us, unfortunately. But, I mean, moving on from that... where would you like to go to now before we discuss the next game?
Well, I want to talk about the goals because that video is great. It goes for about 21 minutes.
Yep.
There's 50 cracking goals in there. But who's the poster that put it together? Because he's an Essendon supporter.
That's right.
Am I right?
He's been around the website for a long, long time. I've actually met him years and years ago, probably in the mid-2000s. He's an Essendon supporter, but I believe his wife is a mad Melbourne supporter, and they go to both. They go to both games. I don't know what they do if they're both playing at the same time or whatever. They might split the time, but as in, he'll go to Essendon, she'll go to Melbourne, but he goes to all Melbourne games, so he can sort of comment.
Gotcha.
He can comment on us.
He had so many posts, so he's obviously
he's not
doesn't come on.
He's not an opposition.
Trash.
He's not an opposition troll. He actually goes to Melbourne games, so it's. I don't know whether he does now. I'm sure he still does because he's still posting. But I just know from back then, he did go to all the games, so it's sort of refreshing to see a point of view that's probably not as clouded as ours are sometimes, the one-eyed supporters. So it's good to get an opposition view that's not, overtly trolling.
Well, kudos to him because it's a great video and it would have taken a lot of time to put together. Who do you reckon? Have you seen it?
Yeah, well, I watched the majority of it today. I didn't finish it because I had a lot of work to do, but I watched a lot of it, and I should have.
What are the standouts for you?
I should have taken notes because every time I was watching, I go, "Oh yeah, I'll remember that." But then a minute later, I'm watching something better. Just a few that stood out, and not anyone in particular, but Justin Charles. No, what's his name? It wasn't Justin Charles. Sean Charles. Justin Charles played for the Bulldogs. Sean Charles, he was a fantastic footballer.
I'd forgotten about Charles.
Yeah,
but
it just, he was some of those things he did.
He was just lightning quick.
Was just fantastic. And so a couple of things I saw of his were really great. I love Jeff Farmer's goal that he kicked from the half-back line. Well, he didn't kick it. He got the ball on the half-back line, gave a few handballs off, a few 1-2s from a couple of players, and then kicked it from outside 50. He's Robbie Flower. I mean, I've seen those goals quite a number of times from that video we used to have back in the day.
Robbie on ice.
Robbie on ice, as we called it.
We were very lucky to have that video because compilations of players weren't around at that time. We're talking in the late 80s.
Well, it's not even the
or early 90s.
It's not even a compilation of players. It was the fact that we didn't get on, because we were so crap in those days, we didn't get on the TV a lot. And there's an early goal in that, one from the sort of early 80s or mid-80s, before 87, I think. And there's not even any commentary to the goal.
Yes.
It was against Hawthorn. I can't remember. Rhino Richards maybe kicked the goal. Or maybe it wasn't that because there was a Richards one where there was commentary. But someone kicked a goal.
No, it was a Robbie goal.
A Robbie goal. And there was no commentary on it. So there was video footage. So they had the video at all the game, but there wasn't necessarily commentators at the games, and I'm sure that happened quite a lot to Melbourne. So there's probably even footage that no longer exists or never did exist of Robbie Flower that is lost to time.
Yeah, that's right. The goals that are included, I think there's 3 of them or 4 of them on this video. The first one against Richmond, I reckon is one of the best goals I've ever seen, full stop, not just from the Melbourne player.
Yeah.
If you remember a few years ago, Nick Nat had remember the point of the century where he tapped it out and then got it himself and then kicked the point? Well, Robbie's goal against Richmond is better than that.
Yeah.
He's in a marking contest in the middle of the ground.
Yeah.
He taps it down, doesn't gather the ball on the ground, taps it up and over another opponent, picks it up, bursts through the centre and kicks from about 50. And Bob Skilton says, that's football at its very best. Yeah. And you can hear actually the crowd.
It was quite loud.
You can hear the crowd sort of rising with it as ball goes to boot, and it was never going to miss. It's a cracking goal.
With Robbie, it's not even just the goals that he kicks, it's just how silky smooth he is when he gets the ball. Like, he gets the ball and he sort of even just does a little, not a balk, but just sort of moves his body away from the player there just to get away from their tackle. And he's just, he just...
It was
read the
beautiful
play.
to watch,
Yeah.
his running style, poetry in motion, as we often say.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like the other one that's included there, where a Geelong player, I think Nankervis, is about to go handball, and Robbie comes from behind and smothers the handball, picks up the loose ball and then snaps for goal. That's also sensational.
And, I mean, it's hard to do the smother, to then pick up the ball, then to have the goal sense to kick the goal, and he just does it like it's second nature to him. And not many players, past or present, can do that. And
you mentioned Sean Charles before. I'd also forgotten how good Flash was. His career didn't end that well. Things petered out in the last couple of years. But in the early days and when he was at his best, he was sensational too, just capable of magical things.
Yeah.
There's a couple of beautiful goals in that video. But I reckon technically the most difficult goal there's an Uze goal, a banana from the wrong side of the ground. So the ball's actually swinging out of the goals. And technically that's the hardest kick going around because it has to be right on line, otherwise it just won't go through. And, that's one of the best technically on there.
And how can you go past Alan Jakovic, just some of the things that he used to do?
Yeah, my favourite there, and I was hoping it would be included, and it was, is that one against Hawthorn where he's up against the boundary line.
He takes on the player and nearly gets...
Takes on Langford and then kicks from the boundary line.
Yeah.
We were sitting in the red seats that day, so we were right behind that goal.
Yeah.
And it was never going to miss, and it was just a beauty.
He
did that fists cross or forearms crossed sign, that sort of shove it up your sign that he was so fond of doing.
Was that goal at the G or was that at Waverley?
No, at the G.
G, okay.
Yeah.
So, and who could forget
love that one.
Who could forget his soccer kick over the top like that?
Another crazy goal.
That was a great game of his.
And there's a whole stack of Gary Lyon torps.
He had a massive kick on him because he was kicking those well inside the centre square and going through post
the one against Carlton in the prelim is probably the biggest because Waverley was the biggest ground. And that, as you say, was from inside the centre square. It was just huge.
And there was another one going the other way as well, maybe at the G.
What I did, and there was a few that were left out of it actually. So, we also remember we used to also like Gary kicking from the members' pocket.
Yes, he never missed.
He was always a dead set certainty from that pocket.
Another thing I liked about that video was seeing the car behind the goals from the mid-80s.
Yes, the good old days of standing room.
Yeah.
But, well done. It's a great video. And, there was some good goals missing too. Todd Viney at the start of the 87 elimination final, the one that he kicked from the boundary.
Yeah, that went over all four posts.
Went over all four posts. And then a goal we used to love watching, of course, Gary Lyon winning the game off his own boot against West Coast in a year later.
Yep. And there was also in that game, Alan Johnson kicked a great goal on the run, I think.
Yes, he did from outside 50 at the other end of the ground. That's right. That was also a cracker of a goal.
Yeah, a lot of good ones. I mean, I think people were saying they were going to try to rank them, but I don't know how you could, especially when you got 50. Give me 10 and you can start doing it maybe, but they were all great goals.
Yep, well done. Very well done.
Yeah, so thank you to Ash 35. And I
Ash
think
35,
he used to, I think he every year used to change his username. He'd just go up in years and he can't be 35 anymore. He'd have to be older than that because that was like in 2007 or 8. But anyway.
There was a good thread this week. Someone asked where to go for useful insights. and there were quite some interesting responses on what people do post-match to process the game and sort of where they go to analyse it, including Demonland. Have you got a routine that you follow, or certain things that you give priority to rather than others?
Well, obviously, the obvious one is, going to Demonland, reading the post-match thread, and it's usually very different experience depending on whether you win or lose. After that, I will read any news, especially mainly if we win. If we lose, I don't really care, but I'll read any of the, newspaper articles that are written about it just to try and relive a bit of that magic. I'll watch any highlights packages the AFL usually puts out either later that night from the game.
Do you watch Goody's presser?
Yeah, I'll have a look at... most of these things are usually if we win, because if we lose, I'm a bit of a bad sport I'm a bit of a grumble bum for a day or two, and I don't like to see anything, and that's just that's just my own personal thing. But yeah, there's Simon Goodwin's match report. Someone mentioned there's Jordan Lewis on AFL 360 is something they like to see, and I'm liking the fact that he's out there, getting in the media.
I don't think he offers much, to be honest.
No, I just like.
Look, it's, as you say, it's good that he's
as
on
a branding
and wearing
thing
the
for
polo
us.
for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, there was also the thing I like to have a look who particularly this year I've been paying more attention to it is the coaches' votes. Mainly because what's his name? Clayton Oliver has been prominent in it, and it's good to see him there. So for me, that's sort of my go-tos. What about you? What else?
I find the post-match thread takes a few pages until we start getting useful insights.
Yeah.
The first couple of pages, look, if it's a win, it's usually happy stuff, so that's fine. But the first 2 pages tends to be sort of woohoo and wow rather than anything coherent. Yeah. When we lose, those first 2 pages can be scathing, again, without too much insight. But once people have settled down a bit, there's a lot of interesting stuff in the post-match thread, and different posters would have different people that they like to read. There's some people who contribute some really good stuff there. I like to watch Goody. I'll watch Goody whether we win or lose. I think he's good value, at least at the moment. He's pretty honest, and you can get a sense of how he feels about the game. I also look at the votes, as you said. I watch the footy shows. I tend to watch Monday night AFL 360, not always Tuesday. I watch On the Couch, and I watch Footy Classified. Not a lot of insight necessarily, but I like to see what they're saying about Melbourne. Footy Classified sometimes good with news, not so much sort of analysis, but footy news. But
I feel that some of the footy shows, and I'm not talking about that terrible The Footy Show, but the in general just the footy shows have tended this year to sort of skip us a little bit. We get a little bit of coverage, but but that's all right. I'm happy to fly under the radar for a bit longer as well.
Earl Hood's just asked, do you read Joey's 3-word summary?
Yeah, I find them entertaining.
Joe Boy. It's become a Demonland tradition.
Yeah, he's done it for a number of years, and I find it quite good. I like it. People don't always agree with what he says about someone, so it's a nice little thing that he's sort of created for himself. So it's sometimes an entertaining read.
Yep.
Yeah. So. But look, if anyone else has a ritual that they do post-match, give us a call, 0390163666, or you can Skype Demonland31. Give us your thoughts on on the Jeff White interview and anything else we're discussing. So
I used to like listening to talkback radio back when you generally had sort of all the games were either Saturday 2:10
yeah,
or, there were Sunday games that were on at the same time too. I like listening to talkback radio,
Yep.
like ABC, Tim Lane and those guys, and listening to, I used to do proper post-match analysis before taking calls. Now you don't get that because one game finishes and another game starts straight away.
Or they just finish and that's it. They go to the next programming.
Yeah, so I sort of missed that. It was sort of part of my football ritual, if you like.
They do that a bit on some of the on the TV as well. There's really no, sometimes the game finishes and it's almost, they interview a player, may go into the rooms for the song, but that's it. And then the broadcast ends and there's no sort of talking about the match. Friday nights is obviously a bit different, but usually the slots that we play in, the game ends and that's it. We're left to go to the computer and get our post-game insights. So moving on, vandenBerg got the news yesterday, I believe, that he's had surgery and his 2017 season is over. I believe he's out of contract at the end of the year. What does that? How does the future for him bode?
He'd get another contract, surely. I mean, unless he has the surgery and the prognosis is no good afterwards, or the result is no good afterwards going forward. But I would have thought they'll persist with him. It might only be a year-to-year thing, but I wouldn't be delisting him at this stage. He's shown too much, I would have thought.
Yeah,
got a feel for him because that's two in a row that have gone bust for him. And we've discussed before, earlier in the year, that, with Jesse out and Max out and Jack having to go into the ruck, we really could have used Vanders.
He's a big body, he can take
as the big body sort of forward.
Yeah.
He's missed out and we've missed out, so it's bad news all round. But I can't see him being cut.
Yeah,
what do you reckon?
I can't see him being cut, but I also think that unfortunately it's going to be like that every year. I think it's just his body's like that. He's been injury prone in almost every year, bar one, and even that year he had a couple of injuries here and there. I don't, I feel for the guy because I really like him as a player, but, with players like Hannon, if he can continue his form, it might, I don't think they'll show him the door, but I think if he has another breakdown, I think they'll only offer him a year, and then if he breaks down again, I think that'll be it. I can't see him being offered 2 or more, maybe might get 2, but you couldn't see it anything more than that.
No, he'd be gutted.
Yeah, absolutely
gutted.
Yeah.
There's been a suggestion that the doctors missed it and could have picked it up earlier. I don't know whether there's any substance to that.
I have no insight to that. I'm not going to make that accusation without being able to back it up. So, it'd be a shame if that happened. But
maybe I'm just circulating forum gossip when I shouldn't be.
Fake news.
Fake news, that's right. So
you talked earlier about we had footage vision of Maxi back on the training track, which is a good sight to see. But someone else made a return to the training track with a helmet. Gus made his return. I'm not sure if you saw the photos of him with a helmet.
Yeah, interesting that he's wearing a helmet.
With a beanie on top of it. Perhaps that's a new fashion statement, but so it seems he's going to go with the head protection.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of debate about whether it does anything or not.
Could be psychological as well.
Yep. Look, whatever works. Whatever works for Angus, but best of luck to him. Let's hope he can get back into contact work soon and then back into the team.
Have they given a sort of Didn't read much about it. I saw the photo, but have they...
No, not
they
that I
just
saw.
know, so he's
Not that I
just
saw.
back into training, but perhaps not
Yep.
contact. And all right, but yeah, I would like. Yeah, it'd be great if he could get back this year. But yeah, look, I'm happy for him to take it slow and yeah.
Someone who also was back on the track. This was a good week back on the track. We've got a number of players back, and perhaps most importantly of all, Jesse.
Yes. So he's back on the training. He's back training.
Well, he trained on his own. I think it was yesterday.
Yeah.
So he didn't. He wasn't with the main group,
Yeah.
but he was out there and was exercising and kicking and running and doing some stuff.
So it
not
was
necessarily full bore, but
yeah.
Great that he's back at the club and with the boys and back doing what he loves. And yeah, I guess. Well,
Do you reckon he's likely to?
I think he's been ruled out, hasn't he? Or...
Well, he's not going to play this week. If he was just training by himself, you wouldn't think he's going to play this week.
No,
but
no.
Next week
there
is
was
he
an
a
article
chance,
about it that apparently was a bit speculative and didn't 100% rule him out this week. But I would have thought, as you say, if he's trained on his own, then you can't see him coming back, and that'd be a really quick return. So I'd say, yeah, give him another week at least.
Yeah,
but,
look, we haven't
good
been
to see him back.
We haven't been struggling to get goals, so it's not like we've got to get him back as quickly as possible. Although not saying I wouldn't want him back, but
no, I mean he's important for
a
structure as much as he is for the goals.
Yeah.
But yeah, good news after a run of bad news for him. So hopefully from here things start to pick up for young Jesse.
Yeah. Before we move on to the game, there was a thread this week, and there was a bit of a rumour floating around about Kurt Tippet and whether he could land at the D's next year. I mean,
he's just been dropped. Do you know?
Yeah, no, I didn't. So that doesn't.
He just got dropped for this week. So
there you go. That doesn't.
Perfect time to come over.
Yeah, if they want to get rid of him, then if they want to palm him off at the end of the year, you probably best not to drop him because dropped players don't tend unless, I mean, particularly, is he still contracted? Was part of the deal that, Sydney would be paying his salary. So.
Yeah, you'd want them paying the
Majority.
$9 million or whatever he's getting.
Yeah.
But, the talk, the other thread that you mentioned that was put up this week, which also related to Gary Rowan and Reid, was that the Tippet hadn't bought into the strategy to go after the Hawks and had tried to talk against it, apparently. So the rest of them had decided they were going to rough up the Hawks, but Tippet wouldn't buy in, apparently. Okay. So, look, everyone forgets he was a really good player when he left Adelaide.
Yep.
If you remember that final series before, he was sensational, but he hasn't done a whole lot at Sydney for the most part.
Yeah.
And I don't know, he looks... he doesn't look very... His attack on the ball doesn't look sort of fierce and competitive.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing Goodwin keeps talking about, and that we keep hearing about, that the club wants in its players, that sort of competitive drive. And he's not playing... Tippett's not playing with that at the moment, and not playing at all this week. So, Look, he would fill a need to one extent. And then there is a question in the chat room, where do you think Wiedemann is at the moment? So, and that feeds into it. How soon is Wiedemann going to come on? Do we need someone in the meantime, or is Cam Petterson enough? Is Kurt Tippet the answer? I don't think so.
I don't think Kurt's the answer. Look, once we've got the two rucks back and, uninjured, I think that sort of changes things and bring Jesse back into the side. For the moment, I'd be happy to have Peterson playing as a forward and let Wiedemann continue to develop in the twos. I don't think there's anything wrong with a young, tall guy developing in the twos. Rather, they're being thrust into the seniors when he's not ready. We saw he had ample opportunity in the seniors, and I think he showed that he wasn't quite ready yet. And I think
and just to answer the question directly, where is he at the moment? Apparently, he had a shocker on the weekend.
Oh, there you go.
Against Coburg, so
who was one of the bottom teams.
Just apparently looking like he's got no confidence. So definitely off the boil at the moment, Sam Wiedemann. But look, some really doubt him. I don't. I still think he'll come on. But
I'm happy to give him time. I think I've seen enough. He'll start taking those marks, but I don't think he's ready yet. He's got to build his body up a bit. He'll get there.
Yep.
All right. So massive game for the D's this week. I don't need to tell you or anyone else who's listening what a win will do for us, particularly with other results that happened this week, and possibly having a look at the lineup of the other games this week. If things sort of go our way again and then we have a win, it really puts us into the...
Catapults us into the 8.
It really does. So, I think...
Especially with our percentage, so, yeah.
Yeah, well, our percentage, if we can keep this percentage, it's like having an extra game under our belt, considering all the teams that we're going to be competing for those final 2 or 3 spaces. We've got a nice, healthy percentage when you have a look at Freo's percentage.
Yes.
They're a game ahead of us, but they're 30% behind us. So that's a game, once they get even. And I think Freo have got Brisbane this week, so they'll probably get a win. But St Kilda's playing Adelaide. You would think Adelaide's going to win, so that, if we can get a win, it puts us a game ahead of St Kilda, a game ahead of Collingwood. Plus, we've got a game in hand against Collingwood because they've played one extra. Essendon play Port. Port should win that, so it might give us a bit of a buffer to the teams that we're sort of on par with at the moment on games. So, I always say we can't rely on other teams losing. We've got to win. So, you hear a lot of people say, "Oh, if only they would have lost, they would." No, we've got to win. So, can't rely on other teams. But if results do go our way, and we can get a win, it sets us up nicely. It's a big game. We can't afford to drop it.
No, we should be beating Collingwood. So I know it's a topsy-turvy season and anyone can beat anyone else on any given day, but we've got more talent than Collingwood.
But
they're good in the midfield, and Grundy's in good form, but we'll have Spencer back. We'll have Salem back.
Yeah, so who comes in, who goes out? You'd think...
Well, those two come in.
And then who comes out?
Tough one.
So, there's... Peterson's not going to go out, so he's in. So you would think another tall may go out. What's the weather forecast for Monday?
It's meant to be fine.
Fine, okay. So that there's no wet weather things. So I don't know. Do you send someone like Omac out, or do we keep Omac?
Well, they don't have an overly tall forward line, so Spencer could come back in. T. McDonald goes back to the back line where he's meant to be instead of playing forward where he's definitely not meant to be.
Yeah.
And where even he acknowledged tonight on TV he's got no idea what he's doing. Omac could then go out. And then you need to, have a small or a mid going out.
So that's the tough one,
Wagner maybe. Or then you've got those guys that have got the perennial question marks next to them in Bug, Harms and Nibbler.
But, all three of them had a pretty good game against Gold Coast. So it all depends on whether you go by whether they had a good game or whether you go picking the best 22 for the game. So, do you reward good play or do you say, sorry, mate, you had a good game, but...
I don't think you can leave Salem out.
Yeah.
So
No, I wasn't saying
it might be
Salem.
a really difficult decision, but yeah.
I was talking more about leaving a guy, even if he had a pretty good game the week before, leaving him in the team to reward for, having a good game.
Yeah, well, you'd like to do that, but yeah, Salem's superior to all three of those players.
Mm. And again, it's the good problem to have, rather than the problem of, all right, this guy's getting a game but doesn't deserve to be. So
yep.
it's a good problem to have.
Yep. So yeah, I would have thought just the two changes, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Well, there was I saw that J. Kennedy Harris had 47 possessions the other day. I don't think he'll come in this week, but that's a lot of the ball, and I know it's the twos, and perhaps the standard's not as good as AFL level, but it's a lot of possessions.
Yeah.
Particularly when he couldn't find the ball a few weeks
No,
ago.
that's right. So looks like they've stuck him in the middle, and he's got his hands on it a fair bit. Yeah. So good on him, and hope the good form continues.
Now they
just puts more pressure on.
Yeah, they should get a pretty massive crowd this week, which is good for the coffers at the club. It's our home game.
It's important that we get a good crowd, because I think we've only still got this fixture thanks to the benevolence of the AFL and Collingwood, to be honest.
And not just Collingwood, Eddie Maguire, right?
Eddie Maguire. Because we maintained it during, the shit years, because it was sort of almost keeping the club afloat. So it was gifted to us during that time when we didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
And now that we've got the Anzac Eve blockbuster with Richmond, 85,000 this year, it's, the Queen's birthday is not necessarily guaranteed unless it keeps drawing big crowds. I think it might have only got 60 or 65 last year, so it needs to be drawing 70 and above, and then the AFL is comfortable to keep the fixture because they know it's a real money spinner, and a blockbuster. And not just, it's important that we get a good crowd.
Yeah, and not just that, because if we get 70 to 80, it just shows that we got 85 or 80 whatever to Richmond. We've got 70 to 80 for this Collingwood one. If our form continues to go up, it means when they're doing the fixtures next year, Friday nights become a real
that's right. And then you've got a genuine half dozen games. The two public holiday fixtures plus 2 or 3 Friday nights, and then you're talking about a seriously good fixture.
Yeah.
And so we're extremely lucky to have the 2 public holidays. There's only a limited number of blockbuster matches during the year. There's the season opener, which Carlton and Richmond have got. There's Easter Monday, which at the moment is Hawthorn and Geelong.
Yeah.
And then there's the Anzac. There's the Anzac round, and there's Dreamtime, but that's really about it. Good Friday's a new one.
Well, Good Friday, I was surprised that they did it at the time that they did, which is probably because of the telethon that they have for.
It should just be a night match.
Yeah, well, you would have thought. I actually assumed that it was this year. It was a night match, and then turned on the TV at 3 in the afternoon or 4, and saw them playing. So I really think that eventually you would think might go to a night game. That really suits a night game.
So we want to keep these 2 public holiday fixtures, and the only way to do it is 2 ways to do it.
Yep.
1 is play good footy,
yep.
And 2 is draw a big crowd. So I was on the MCG homepage today, and they're tipping 72, and I think they've got a fair idea. I don't think they get things too wrong.
Well, they've got.
I think for Richmond they might have even tipped about 75, and another 10 came in. So
Well, they have to know what they're doing because of staffing levels and all that.
Yep.
So they they don't want to say 50 and only and 50.
No, and I think they
turn
also
up
get an idea from member MCC passes and things like that, guest passes.
Yeah.
And they know that if
and
there's a certain number of members, then there's going to be a certain number of general punters.
Yeah.
So
and they are doing the big freeze, the slide again. I assume that's always fun to sort of watch, particularly if you're bringing kids. They sort of get a kick out of it.
Well, it's a green and gold theme this year. It's Olympians. So Stephen Bradbury's one of them. Alyssa Camplin, Sherelle McMahon, Andrew Gaze, and a couple of others. So it's a good thing, and it's a huge game, and it's good for the boys for them to play in front of such a big crowd too, and just get as much of that big game experience as they can. Can't wait to get to the G on Monday.
Particularly,
it's pumped. Yep.
If we're going to make a tilt for the finals and even possibly play a final, it's good to get a bit of that experience in front of the big crowd and a big game. So
Yep. Game on.
Game on. Absolutely. I really want to win this game, not just because it's Collingwood and we hate Collingwood, but it's a really important game for us to win. We've had a few games this year which we don't have to. We've been talking about it all year on this podcast. Games we should have won. This is a game we should win, and I want to. This is our hoodoo this year. We've broken all those, the majority of the hoodoos, the Etihad stuff, the couple of those big away gate losses and all that. And our hoodoo this year is the MCG. I want to break that hoodoo and the hoodoo of losing games we should win. So game on. Let's get to the G. Support the guys. Support Neil Danaher. No, look, anyone who's listening to this podcast is probably going to the game. So, can't wait.
Yep. See you in the post-match.
Yes, in the post-match. Hopefully it's... hopefully I do see you in the post-match because, as I mentioned before, when we lose, I try to steer clear of it. I think it'll be a good game. All right. That was a great interview with Jeff.
Yeah, we've gone overtime as a result. So thanks to our listeners for sticking with us all the way through.
Yeah,
but it was worth it. It was a good chat with Jeff.
Well,
great player and a good bloke.
Great bloke. He knows his stuff. I was really impressed with that interview. And I know we did go over time, but it was definitely well worth it. So I just want to thank everyone for joining us and for listening in again. The statistics of people who are downloading the show and listening are great. They're going up every week. We've got the stats from SoundCloud and from iTunes as well that I get on the back end of the site. Just fantastic. So thank you, everyone who listens and supports it. And you don't have to, I think we're at an hour and 40 minutes. You don't have to listen to it all in one hit. That's the beauty of if you download via iTunes, you can jump in and out whenever you want. And thank you for the support of listening to this podcast. So
and look, apologies that we couldn't get to the questions that were posted in the chat room, but we obviously had our own few pre-prepared questions, and as Andy just mentioned, we went so far over time we didn't even get to some of the questions that are in the chat room. So apologies for that, but some of them came up anyway, so hopefully we got a fair few of them answered.
Yeah, and it's sometimes when you're having a conversation with someone, it's hard to sort of sometimes keep track of everything that happens in the chat room. When we're talking, that's all right. I can sort of have a look, but when you've got a guest on, you don't want to be rude to them and not listen to what they have to say. So. Yeah. Anyway, if you are listening on the replay of this, you can join us live. We're live every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. And you can find us at demonland.com/podcast and join us live. We've got a live chat room that you can chat with us and ask questions, and sometimes we'll look at them and, and answer your questions. But yeah, anyway, thank you very much for listening, and we'll be back again next week, same time, same channel. And we'll leave you with a bit of Come On Demons, our theme song we stole from the 80s.